Quinoa is a species of the goosefoot genus, a grain crop grown primarily for its edible seeds. It is a pseudocereal, similar in some respects to buckwheat, rather than a true cereal, as it is not a member of the true grass family. As a chenopod, quinoa is closely related to species such as beetroots, spinach and tumbleweeds. As a member of the Amaranthaceae family, it is related to and resembles amaranth, which is also a pseudocereal. After harvest, the seeds must be processed to remove the coating containing the bitter-tasting saponins. The seeds are in general cooked the same way as rice and can be used in a wide range of dishes. The leaves are eaten as a leaf vegetable, much like amaranth, but commercial availability of quinoa greens is limited. The nutrient composition is favorable compared with common cereals. Quinoa seeds contain essential amino acids like lysine and acceptable quantities of calcium, phosphorus, and iron. It is high in protein, and is tolerant of dry soil. The Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations declared 2013 to be the International Year of Quinoa. Chenopodium formosanum is a Taiwanese variant of red quinoa that is endemic to Taiwan, and is widely grown in eastern and southern Taiwanese Aboriginal cultures. Quinoa originated in the Andean region of Peru, Bolivia, Ecuador, Colombia, and Chile, and was domesticated 3,000 to 4,000 years ago for human consumption in the Lake Titicaca Basin, though archaeological evidence shows a non-domesticated association with pastoral herding some 5,200 to 7,000 years ago. Similar chenopodium species, such as pitseed goosefoot and fat hen, were grown and domesticated in North America as part of the Eastern agricultural complex before maize agriculture became popular. Fat hen, which has a widespread distribution in the Northern Hemisphere, produces edible seeds and greens much like quinoa, but in smaller quantities. Biology. Chenopodium quinoa is a dicotyledonous annual plant usually about 1 to 2 meters high. It has broad, generally pubescent powdery, smooth to lobed leaves normally arranged alternately. The woody central stem is branched or unbranched depending on the variety and may be green, red or purple. The flowering panicles arise from the top of the plant or from leaf axils along the stem. Each panicle has a central axis from which a secondary axis emerges either with flowers or bearing a tertiary axis carrying the flowers. The green hypogynous flowers have a simple perianth and are generally self-fertilizing. The fruits are about 2 mm in diameter and of various colors, from white to red or black depending on the cultivar. Natural distribution. Chenopodium quinoa is believed to have been domesticated in the Peruvian Andes from wilder weed populations of the same species. There are non-cultivated quinoa plants that grow in the area it is cultivated. These may either be related to wild predecessors, or they could be descendants of cultivated plants. Saponin content. In the natural state, the seeds have a coating of bitter-tasting saponins, making them unpalatable. Most of the grain sold commercially has been processed to remove this coating. This bitterness has beneficial effects during cultivation, as it is unpopular with birds and therefore requires minimal protection. The genetic control of bitterness involves quantitative inheritance, lowering the saponin content through selective breeding to produce sweeter, more palatable varieties is complicated by about 10% cross-pollination. The toxicity category rating of quinoa saponins treats them as mild diet and respiratory irritants and is a low gastrointestinal irritant. The saponin is a toxic glycoside, a main contributor to its hemolytic effects when combined directly with blood cells. In South America, quinoa saponin has many uses, including as a detergent for clothing and washing and as an antiseptic for skin injuries. High levels of oxalic acid are in the leaves and stems of all species of the Chenopodium genus, and are also in the related genera of the Amaranthaceae family. The risks associated with quinoa are minimal, provided it is properly prepared and the leaves are not eaten to excess. Nutritional value. Nutritional evaluations indicate that raw quinoa is a rich source of protein, dietary fiber, several B vitamins and dietary minerals, nutrients whose contents are substantially reduced by cooking. Analysis shows its protein is relatively high in essential amino acids. In a 100 grams serving, cooked quinoa provides 120 calories and is a moderate source of protein, dietary fiber, folate, and the dietary minerals iron, zinc, magnesium, phosphorus, and manganese. It is gluten-free and considered easy to digest. Because of these characteristics, it is being considered as a possible crop in NASA's controlled ecological life support system for long-duration human-occupied spaceflights. It has a notably short germination period. Only 2 to 4 hours in water is enough to make it sprout, as opposed to 12 hours with wheat. This process softens the seeds, making them suitable for salads and other foods. Cultivation. Climate requirements. The plant's growth is highly variable due to a high complexity of different subspecies, varieties and landraces. However, in general it is undemanding and altitude hardy. It is grown from coastal regions to over 4,000 meters in the Andes near the equator, with most of the cultivars being grown between 2,500 meters and 4,000 meters, depending on the variety. Optimal growing conditions are in cool climates with temperatures that vary between -4 degrees Celsius during the night to near 35 degrees Celsius during the day. Some cultivars can withstand lower temperatures without damage. Light frosts normally do not affect the plants at any stage of development, except during flowering. Midsummer frosts during flowering, often occurring in the Andes, lead to sterilization of the pollen. Rainfall conditions are highly variable between the different cultivars, ranging from 300 to 1,000 millimeters during growing season. Growth is optimal with well-distributed rainfall during early growth and development and dry conditions during seed maturation and harvesting. Quinoa has been cultivated in the United States, primarily in the high-elevation San Luis Valley of Colorado, where it was introduced in 1982. In this high-altitude desert valley, maximum summer temperatures rarely exceed 30 degrees Celsius and night temperatures are about 7 degrees Celsius. Due to the short growing season, North American cultivation requires short maturity varieties typically of Bolivian origin. Several countries within Europe, including France, England, Holland, Belgium, Germany and Spain, now have successfully grown quinoa on a commercial scale. Within the UK, crops are grown as population and mechanically harvested in September. Sowing quinoa plants do best in sandy, well-drained soils with a low nutrient content, moderate salinity, and a soil pH of 6 to 8.5. The seed bed must be well prepared and drained to avoid waterlogging. In the Andes, the seeds are normally broadcast over the land and raked into the soil. Sometimes it is sown in containers of soil and transplanted later. Cultivation management. Yields are maximized when 170 to 200 kilograms n hectare is available. The addition of phosphorus does not improve yield. In eastern North America, it is susceptible to a leaf miner that may reduce crop success and which also affects the common weed and close relative Chenopodium album. But C. album is much more resistant. Harvesting and handling quinoa grain is usually harvested by hand and rarely by machine, because the extreme variability of the maturity period of most quinoa cultivars complicates mechanization. Harvest needs to be precisely timed to avoid high seed losses from shattering, and different panicles on the same plant mature at different times. The seed yield is comparable to wheat yields in the Andean areas. In the United States, varieties have been selected for uniformity of maturity and are mechanically harvested using conventional small grain combines. The plants are allowed to stand until they are dry and the grain has reached a moisture content below 10%. Handling involves thrashing the seed heads and winnowing the seed to remove the husk. Before storage, the seeds need to be dried in order to avoid germination. Dry seeds can be stored raw until washed to mechanically processed to remove the pericarp to eliminate the bitter layer containing saponins. History and culture. Early history. Quinoa was first domesticated by Andean peoples around 3,000 to 4,000 years ago. It has been an important staple in the Andean cultures where the plant is indigenous but relatively obscure in the rest of the world. The Incas, who held the crop to be sacred, referred to it as Chisayam Ama, or mother of all grains, and it was the Inca emperor who would traditionally sow the first seeds of the season using golden implements. During the Spanish conquest of South America, the colonists scorned it as food for Indians and suppressed its cultivation, due to its status within indigenous religious ceremonies. The conquistadors forbade quinoa cultivation for a time and the Incas were forced to grow wheat instead. Rising popularity and crop value. The grain has become increasingly popular in the United States, Canada, Europe, Australia, China and Japan where it is not typically grown, increasing crop value. Between 2006 and early 2013, quinoa crop prices tripled. In 2011, the average price was $3,115 per ton, with some varieties selling as high as $8,000 per ton. This compares with wheat prices of $9 per bushel. Since the 1970s, producers' associations and cooperatives have worked toward greater producer control of the market. The higher prices make it harder for people to purchase, but also brings a livable income for farmers and enables many urban refugees to return to working the land. The popularity of quinoa grain in non-indigenous regions has raised concerns over food security, due to continued widespread poverty in regions where it is produced and because few other crops are compatible with the soil and climate in these regions. It has been suggested that the inflated price disrupts local access to food supplies. In 2013, The Guardian compared it to asparagus cultivated in Peru, a cash crop criticized for excessive water use, as feeding our apparently insatiable 365-day-a-year hunger for this luxury vegetable. It has been suggested that, as people rise above subsistence level income, they choose higher status Western processed foods. However, anthropologist Pablo Laguna states that farmers are still saving a portion of the quinoa crop for their own use, and that the high prices affect nearby city dwellers more, but consumption in cities has traditionally been lower. According to Laguna, the net benefit of increased revenue for farmers outweighs the costs, saying that it is very good news for small, indigenous farmers. The transformation from a healthy staple food for farming families and communities into a product that is held to be worth too much to keep for oneself and one's family is an ongoing process. It is seen as a valuable resource that can bring in far greater amounts of cheap to low nutrition nutrient foods such as pasta and rice. It used to be seen as a peasant food that provided farming families with a very important source of nutrition, but now occupies a spectrum from an everyday food of urban Bolivia's middle class to a luxury food in the Peruvian capital of Lima, where it sells at a higher per pound price than chicken, and 4 times as much as rice. Efforts are being made in some areas to distribute it more widely and ensure that farming and poorer populations have access to it and have an understanding of its nutritional importance. These include incorporating it into free school breakfasts and in government provisions distributed to pregnant and nursing women in need. Kosher controversy. Quinoa has become popular in the Jewish community as a substitute for the leavened grains that are forbidden during the Passover holiday. Several kosher certification organizations refuse to certify it as being kosher for Passover, citing reasons including its resemblance to prohibited grains or fear of cross-contamination of the product from nearby fields of prohibited grain, or during packaging. In December 2013, the Orthodox Union, the world's largest kosher certification agency, announced it would begin certifying quinoa as kosher for Passover. International Year of Quinoa. The United Nations General Assembly declared 2013 as the International Year of Quinoa in recognition of ancestral practices of the Andean people, who have preserved it as food for present and future generations through knowledge and practices of living in harmony with nature. The objective is to draw the world's attention to the role that quinoa could play in providing food security, nutrition and poverty eradication, in support of achieving Millennium Development Goals. Gallery.